we've been conditioned to always just look strong, right? But what if you're broken mentally?
If there's one thing that you'd like an athlete, a viewer watching this, to learn about their mind, what will it be?
There's no limitations. You set those limitations. The moment that you believe that you can only achieve a certain standard, you've done that to yourself. You've restricted yourself. An important tournament that I had been training for. And the night before, I broke my hand. And everything came to a halt. Started getting really depressed. I probably spent more than 16 hours probably in bed. I couldn't work, I couldn't go to school, I couldn't play basketball. I had lost my drive, my passion. What do I do? There was nobody I could talk to. Only I could help myself. In this life, you are your first and last line of defense against anything. You are responsible for yourself.
So you say strong body, broken mind.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Strong body, broken mind. I feel like just in society, we've been conditioned to always just look strong, right? But like, you break an arm, you see it, right? But what if you're broken mentally, right? Like, what if you have an upbringing that has left you broken to some extent? How do you heal from that? Can you even see that? How do you determine whether an athlete is ready to go 100%? Right? There's limits to this. And with society nowadays, it's been very limited with how many resources we pour into our mental health. Right? Like an athlete goes through rehabilitation, they have to go through physiotherapy, they have to go through, their full course of 6 months, 9 months maybe, for depending on what injury. But what if an individual went through that same injury, but mentally they're not in the same capacity? How do you help them there? And that's the things that I want to be able to change, because our body will follow if our mind can lead. And that's what I feel like is the future, right? Because as we go through sports, as we go through, injuries, lifehood, it's not just, one day at a time. Things can happen in a split second that can change our emotion, our mood, the way we perceive things. It's how do we cope? How do we tackle those things? And up here, only we can see that. Only we can hear those thoughts. And that's the differentiation, right? I get myself hurt. You see it. Yeah. You can tend to it. But mentally, I can hide it. And in a stigma of today's society, it's so normal and natural to try to act strong without actually being it.
Yeah. And you spoke about only we can see our mind, we can feel it. Do you think sometimes there are instances that our mind is so clouded that sometimes we can't see it?
Oh, for sure. I think society has made it where every single, moment we have, it's been determined from what we think we should do, not what we want to do. Because we are all products of the environment we grew up in. Social media is that same product, right? And it's made us into who we are today. It's molded us. And if we feel that online, all these people are so perfect, they're living these amazing, glamorous lives, they don't have any problems, and nobody talks about mental health, it's not normalized. So why would we? When the people we look up to don't talk about it, right? How can we determine that, today I'm going to talk about how I'm not feeling good? No, we're expected to push down everything, especially us men, push down everything and get on with it. Because that's what we've been taught and conditioned to believe.
If there's one thing that you'd like an athlete, a viewer watching this, to learn about their mind, what will it be?
There's no limitations. You set those limitations. The moment that you believe that you can only achieve a certain standard, you've done that to yourself. You've restricted yourself, right? You know what they say is like, it's only impossible until it's possible. If I say I can't do something to a certain extent, if I say, let's say, I couldn't make it to Kenya, I couldn't work with the National Olympic team, I'm already manifesting a certain thought process. There's a concept called neuroplasticity. It's within our brains of rewiring the way, our brain actually performs. And if we teach ourselves the way that we think to ourselves is in some sense of like, let's say, negative or pessimistic, that's what we're going to attract.
Maybe if you can tell us, someone is wondering out there, sees what you do out in the social media, and I would like that opportunity to also work with the National Olympic team. How did you get there?
It's actually a very crazy story. Last year, it all correlates, but last year I had an accident. I had a motorcycle accident, and I was actually devastated. This was the worst injury of my life. I live alone. I've been living alone for almost 9 years now. My family lives in another country, actually. I live in Canada, they live in America. And, when I had that injury, right away, I got up. First thing I looked at was who saw. I was just embarrassed. And for me, I've kind of been conditioned to perceive, injuries and, all these things in a certain light. And I pulled up my leg and I could literally see my knee bone, like my kneecap.
Wow.
And I picked up my motorcycle, I pulled it to the side, and I walked home, kissed my pup on the head, and I drove myself to the hospital. And I made it just to the ER, and I blacked out. Wow. As soon as I went through the door. And got a little cloudy there for a second. And I remember, fast forward a couple of weeks, I promised my family one thing, that no matter what, every single year, I would go and visit them. And I remember sitting in that plane, and I still hadn't told anybody, not even my family, that this injury was happening. It was all by myself. I told them that I was gonna make my promises happen no matter what. And from there, fast forward, university started. I started a lot of leadership roles, and I heard of a practicum opportunity working with the National Olympic Committee of Kenya. A lot of my friends were graduating this year. I was on the road to graduate this year, and I could have very much well. Literally next month in May, I would have graduated. And I decided, this is Kenya.
Yeah.
I have the ability to work with Olympians, world-class athletes. And one of the topics that I even spoke about in my university was making long-lasting connections that go beyond just the university. So many students nowadays, they go to university, go to class, and they go home. They graduate, they go home. Did you even get a job in your degree? What was the point of it? University is a place to make connections, is to make real long-lasting connections and expanding your network. So I decided to take a full year extra on top of my undergraduate and bachelor's. And obviously that pushed my plans a little back, but that was okay. Because look where I am sitting right now. Look where I'm doing right now. Yeah. Gratitude. I'm literally sitting here with, such a blessed opportunity to be in Kenya, to work with the Olympic Committee. And for me, it was just a choice. I set my mind to it. Every single day, I said I was gonna make it happen. And when I was sitting through the interview process, explaining why I felt like I had the resources and why I deserved to go to Kenya and why they should give me the scholarship, I had already decided in my mind, I'm taking a full year already. Before I even got the acceptance, I had already taken a year because I invested in myself. I said I would do something, and I believed in myself. There's so many dreams that die because people don't believe in themselves. They feel like they're less than. And that's where the restriction happens, in the mind.
The mind.
The reality that you live is all being predetermined by what you believe. So for me, it was just a moment of, in this whole world, maybe nobody else will believe in me. But if the moment I stop, it's downhill. So I had made a promise to myself, no matter what, I'm gonna see it through. If I fail, I'll get back up. But I'll make sure I don't have regrets that I didn't try. So that's what I would say has got me here.
And how's it been so far for you being here so far with the National Olympic Committee of Kenya? And what's one mind attribute that you've picked from Kenyans?
Well, firstly, just being here has been phenomenal. I think it's absolutely amazing just, coming into a different culture. One of the things that I caught very early on was perspective. My views, the way that I looked at Kenya as a country was so colonized. Like, it was so much influenced by, the countries that I come from, right? It was, I mentioned this word, third world country. And a lot of my colleagues looked at me funny, and they even, some got upset. And at the point, I was like, this is normal for me. I thought, Kenya is a third world country. And it wasn't until they brought up these points of, where does that word come from? Right? Where has that been programmed and taught to me from? And it was very much so, a moment of like, whoa. And I, had this kind of, I had to stop and collect my thoughts of Kenya has so much potential. It has so much things. Anything that I need back home, I have here. And, one of the facts I was talked about was Kenya was voted one of the friendliest countries in the world last year, right? That's an important fact.
Yeah.
Right? Because the amount of hospitality that there is here. People come here to have a relaxed, slow life sometimes. And it's absolutely, even above that, it's beautiful. You can do anything that you want here. You have the opportunities. But for me, it was just an eye-opener to really stop myself from being so ignorant and really just enjoy the relaxed life. Enjoy the matatus, the boda bodas, and really integrate myself in being more pole, just slow. And, Canada and America, it's fast, fast, fast. Get your work done as fast as possible. Sleep less. Do this. But here it's just very slow. It's very quiet. You gotta go at your own pace. You have the ability to, the only country in the world, I think, or Nairobi has a national park. You can literally go to see lions and elephants, giraffes, and you can see like a city, skyscrapers. Like, you don't have that anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the beauty of, and the serenity of just being so close to the greenery and the sun, but also having, the fast go lifestyle of, Westlands or Parklands and just Nairobi. It's a very fast-paced city. But it's like a good mixture. And it really allowed me to see, that relaxed side, but also if you need to put your head down and grind, you have that opportunity and ability.
Mm-hmm. What's that defining moment, that made you realize the mind is just important as the body in sport? And probably before you get into that, you can share some of the sports you've played, tell us what you do actively in sports, and then you get to that.
Yeah, the sport I played at the highest level was probably basketball. I've done powerlifting. I've competed in 3 powerlifting meets. I've done boxing. I've played volleyball, track and field. And right now, currently, I'm on my 3rd full marathon. I'm training. And it wasn't until probably running when I realized just how mental it was. And from there, I want to go into Ironman in 2028, and that's on the horizon. But for me, my defining moment was probably just before COVID. I'd broken my hand, my right hand, and like I mentioned, I had still been living alone. My family wasn't even in the same city; they're in a different country, right? And it was so hard. I was probably at the peak of my training as well in basketball, and this was probably like a year or so before my knee injury started happening, and then everything kind of went downhill, right? But it was so eye-opening because I had such an important tournament that I had been training for. And the night before, I broke my hand and everything came to a halt. And I realized just how much I was taking everything for granted. How I felt like I was on top of the world because everything was good. Everything was okay. Everything was, the way that I wanted to be. But that's not what life was. And it was going to hit me, and it hit me hard. And then from there, I started getting really depressed. I probably spent more than 16 hours probably in bed. And if I was going to get up, it was probably to get pizza. And at one point, I realized I had a stack of pizza boxes. And I was getting heavier, getting out of shape, losing my athleticism. Everything I trained for, all downhill. Mm-hmm. I couldn't work, I couldn't go to school, I couldn't play basketball. I had lost my drive, my passion, and I just didn't know where to go. I got depressed, I got very anxious, I didn't like me, I didn't like looking at myself in the mirror. And for me, it was such an eye-opener of like, what do I do? There was nobody I could talk to. There was no one that I felt like I could go and ask for help. It was just me in my mind. And I was spiraling really bad. And the good thing about when you hit rock bottom is you can't go any lower. Yeah. And that's when I started practicing gratitude. Yes, I have a broken hand, boo-hoo. Stuff happens. I still have, my health. Bones heal. Right? I have a house over my head. I have clothes. I have the ability to, get fat. I have food, right? That I have that luxury, that privilege to access. And, from there I started, going to the gym again, and I broke my hand again. I was doing some box jumps and I landed right on my hand again. And I stayed in a splint for almost 7 months. Living alone. And it healed crooked. It didn't even heal right. My pinky, it healed downwards, and forever. So like the implications for me was like, I was like, who cares about my body? I need to train my mind, and there needs to be a balance. You can't just focus on one or the other. But that was for me a defining moment when I realized that only I could help myself. In this life, you are your first and last line of defense against anything. Mm-hmm. You have parents, you have sisters, brothers, friends, family, teachers. But in the end, you are responsible for yourself. Even growing up, a lot of us might be in unfavorable situations, and it's unfortunate. And we're never saying that's okay what happened to you, but what I am saying is regardless of going forward, you're responsible for yourself and your life. Because if you don't help yourself up, no one will. That victim mindset, it doesn't work, unfortunately. This happened to me, okay, I'm sorry. But what are you gonna do to change your present situation? What's next? And unfortunately, a lot of people, they never get out of their own minds. They play that victim mindset for their whole lives. And they're stuck because they fail to realize that self, reflection is so powerful. Introspection is so powerful. If they can realize what they need to accomplish, they can do it. Mm. Like your mind is like your map. And, your body just follows. I can lay all the tools out for you, but only I can utilize them. Yeah. Right? So that's for myself is the most important part. Mm-hmm. Utilizing those. And speaking of tools, an athlete who maybe is in the same situation, how did you get out of that? What are some of the specific, did you use any psychology tools, or are there tools or things that, really helped you get out of, the tough moments of depression and realizing all these things as an athlete? Yeah, for me, it was unfortunately very self-dependable. But when you're put into a hard situation and you realize how hard it was to get out, you want to make it easier. And from there, I dedicated myself to helping not just other athletes, but that was my specialty, but just humans find better resources to access them. There's so many resources out there. It's a matter of finding them and telling people that you can do this. You know, I was fortunate enough to be part of a very, very amazing experience at MRU, which was the after-hour peer support. And that's essentially for students, by students, that we help each other. We're a student body that anybody needs any type of support, even if you want to just come talk about how life is too much, you can. But it's very different for athletes. That's what I realized for myself. I wasn't just a normal human. I had been training from a young age to accomplish a goal. My identity was intertwined with my sport, my ability to be an athlete. That just word, it holds so much power. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can call themselves an athlete. That label is earned from hours and hours and hours of training, going to the gym, early morning, late nights. And for me, I realized that I like to approach it differently. For athletes, we're told to push through it. No pain,
no gain.
That's what we say.
Yeah.
But when the pain is in your mind, you are really, really, really pulling yourself back. And it's that self-sabotage that we don't realize we're doing. And the implications are so much devastating than we realize, because the coping strategies and abilities that we define ourselves with today, we're going to pass along later on. That concept of generational trauma is very much so real. So whatever we learn today, we pass on the next generation. And I realized for athletes, this was my job, this was my calling. I needed to do this. And I started, focusing more on younger athletes, specifically men and boys, because I feel like we don't get enough support. We don't get enough recognition to talk about when we aren't feeling well emotionally. And emotional intelligence is just as important in any other type of, resource, like physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, even socially. All these things make us human. And when we abandon one of them and we focus on the other, it'll catch up to you. Mm-hmm. And that debt will need to be paid.
Yeah.
Right? And I realized that, you have to be able to make that pain. I wanted to see change in the world, so I started becoming that change, making that change. I saw a problem. You got to make a solution. Why not be that solution and be part of it?
And you rightfully said it. If I break my arm right now, walk into this room, probably colleagues, friends will be like, "Oh, sorry, what happened?" Mm-hmm. But mentally, it's invisible. Right. What are some of the signs coaches and teammates often miss within a team kind of perspective, or within it can be still an individual sport, but there is a coaching team around?
I think in organized sport, one of the biggest things we miss is just being not mentally there. You can see someone pulling away, losing the passion, losing their drive. And that concept of burning out, it's so prominent, especially with young athletes when they've been pushed from, let's say, 4 years old, specialized within a certain sport, and they lose the fun, the happiness. For me, I can still say, I love basketball. I still play it. I don't compete at a, elite level anymore, but I still play it. I enjoy it. They go, give me a ball, give me a hoop, and I'll be out there by myself shooting for hours. Mm-hmm. But, as you mentioned, when, these coaches, they have been taught one principle and one concept of winning. They do it at the cost of these athletes sometimes. And unfortunately, it comes down to caring, being empathetic, and understanding that these are still humans. and not just moving parts of the machine. And if an athlete's becoming more distant or isn't getting along with other athletes, that you're becoming irritable, what do coaches do? Run suicides. Or we're running another practice. We're going to be doing drills all practice, versus taking time to just treat them like humans. Like, hey, I've known you for a full season. I've never seen you miss practices, and I've never seen you irritable, but I feel like just recently you've changed in behavior. What's caused this? If they don't have the space to share, if you don't make them feel comfortable, they never will. They'll keep it all within. But those outbursts, that distance from sport, getting maybe more irritable in life, maybe you're dropping in grades and you stop caring, you start coping in different ways, maybe drugs, maybe alcohol, maybe engaging in sports to an unhealthy amount, because that is very much so possible too.
Yeah.
When you avoid everything in life, let's say you had a death in the family and you haven't coped properly, you throw yourself into sport. That's unhealthy as well. You have to cope, you have to go through the grief. When you push it to the side, like I said, that debt will still be there. It's just compounding. And these coaches, they need to have the proper training and actual education to be able to distinguish what is regular and normal and what isn't. And without that proper training within the system of just all sports and athletics, come from an Olympic standpoint, it needs to happen from the top, because it's a trickling effect. If these athletes at the top end, they need that, they can speak to it, it can be normalized, and it's not such a stigma and taboo almost. So that's what I feel like needs to happen to these coaches. They need to learn and understand.
What are some of the common mental challenges that you've get to experience with athletes so far in Kenya, or even in other spaces that you have practiced?
Specifically in Kenya, I have really noticed that everybody just made to run, to train, to go to the gym, and not really address other components of their lives. Right? Like, I went to Sirikwa Classic, and I saw these young kids, some running without shoes, and their training was simply just run, and that was it. They're just told to go. But it's a balancing act, right? Everything needs to happen in a way that's healthy. And other athletes, let's say within Canada, I've seen this as well, they will heavily invest so much time, effort, and money, and the mindset becomes just like, this is what I'm going to do, and that's it. And there's no other healthy balance. What makes you? And this is a very, very, very important question. If I ask an individual, who are you? If you ask me, who am I, right? Ask Talvir, who am I? Take away the degree, take away the sports, take away everything. Who am I to my soul? Right? Who am I? Taking all the flashy things away, all the credentials, all the qualifications. That's what so many individuals don't ask themselves, those important questions. And like I mentioned, emotional intelligence has really started to plummet, especially with AI. Nowadays, the integration is insane. We don't even think for ourselves at times.
Yeah.
And what makes us human is the emotions, the ability to connect. And that's what I tell all my athletes, right? In any type of situation is, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but also don't think that this is just who you are and there's no other route. Because you see a lot of professional athletes as well in different sports, and they treat it like what it is. It's a job. You're not going to be playing in the NBA at 70 years old, right?
Yeah.
At some point, you're going to become from the top, right? Like, look at LeBron right now. Like, he's playing with the Sun. He's done amazing stuff, but and sooner or later he has to set up something for the rest of his life. After your sport, you don't die. You gotta live the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Set yourself up for success. You gotta be able to put yourself in different spaces. Find those passions, because sports is one of them. It's not the only one. Like I said, it's a balancing act.
So the key word there is you have to find the balancing act for you as an athlete, and that probably would tell a wholesome athlete, according to you, an athlete who has most, not if all, things balanced out, right? Yeah. So there are other different factors like financial pressure, lack of structure, identity on life during sports and after sports. All these affect athletes in different, mental ways. Why is it difficult, for athletes to get to speak openly about mental health? Is it the pedestal where they're put? Now they get to feel like I can't come and break down and you guys think of me highly, or
No, 100%. I think that's a massive thing. When athletes have been seen, they've been put on this, even some international aspect, to provide. Like, what's a car without wheels? And that's the mindset that has been incorporated by so many athletes, is that's who they are, that's what they're worth. And without that, it's hard to kind of, like I said, differentiate. And they feel like they have to perform to a certain extent, earn a certain amount of money, provide for their family. The pressure is there. If you have a gift, utilize it. But at some point, they have to kind of take a step back, understand, okay, I'm doing this now, and I'm exceeding in it, but what about my mental health? Am I also taking care of myself in that aspect? And it's a hard question, because if I ask, an athlete, how are you doing today? They'll say, I'm doing great. But is that the real truth? Who knows? Because they've never been conditioned, society has never asked us to talk about our feelings. Society has just told us to keep pushing forward, and one day after the other, until, you hit a tipping point. And at that point, it becomes very hard to come back. So the framework, the foundation needs to be set early on. Finding out different things that make you happy apart from your sport. If that's helping people, doing good, or investing in your hobbies. What's special about all of us? Every single one of us has something unique about us. We just have to find that. When we're kids, we dream so big, we smile, we laugh, we think, the imagination is endless. But when we grow up, especially with the society has conditioned us, we get bleak, we get gray. Everything's just black and white. It's day and night. And it's just a clock. And you have to find time for yourself. We'll be working for a good portion of our lives. And when we're not working, we'll be sleeping. How much time do you have to spend with your family? And when you really break it down, very limited.
Yeah.
And with technology, we're on our phones all the time, and it's detrimental. Doom scrolling is detrimental to our, mental health even. When you get caught in this loop, you're continuously just, forgetting what the perception of time is. And we just got to bounce back to reality. And I feel like that way that can only happen is if you become aware. And I mentioned this earlier, is just reflecting, being more introspective of how much time did I actually spend on self-care and self-love? Because you got to pour into your own cup before you can pour into anybody else's. I can't pour into anybody else's cup if mine's dry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Take care of yourself so you can take care of the loved ones and people around you. And that's what athletes what we want to do.
Recently, I think it was yesterday, I was watching a reel on Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, he was explaining how the how competitive sports is.
Yeah.
And he was speaking how 100 meters, for example, the difference between the first person and the second person is milliseconds or microseconds. Okay. The top three guys are just microseconds apart from each other. And sports is mindset is becoming an important part of sports performance. Currently, we are seeing athletes investing in mind coaches or mindset coaches. I think borrowing a lot from the elite units of SEAL teams, and these guys have a huge on mindset. So just thinking through that, what does how important is mindset to sports performance?
I think it's one of the most important aspects. If I'll be completely real with you. And you mentioned, when there's first place, second place, third place. I'm sure every single one of those athletes have been putting countless hours in the gym. But let me ask you, do you know the third fastest person or the fourth even?
No.
Who's the fastest man that if you think about right now, if I ask you, who's the fastest man in the world, who do you think about?
I'm forgetting his name, but the guy from the US, no lights.
Yeah. And before then, Bolt. Right?
Yep.
And, for swimmer, we think about Phelps. Who's second? I don't know.
I don't know.
And with those things, it's like there has to be winners, there has to be losers. Mm-hmm. And some people, it's the motivation. What's your drive? You have intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Extrinsic could be the fame, the money, the ego behind everything. And intrinsic can be like, I want to accomplish this, and it means a lot to me. Your why is so important, because when you have purpose, the opportunities you want to achieve are endless. But when it's limited by superficial things, then you can only go so far. And for mental health, it's directly correlated, right? Because if you've thought to yourself that, I wanted to become the fastest man in the world because the fame, the glory, stamp myself in history, you came up short. Mm-hmm. Your why was so superficial, right? It was just the fame, but it didn't really mean a lot to you. And you plummet. You plummet when you thought you could have achieved the world and you were unable to. But now how do you regroup? That's what it comes down to, because not everybody in the world can be the best. There are winners, there are losers. Every single thing that we do in life, there has to be one or the other. For me to be here, having this scholarship, having this talk with you right now, I had to be a certain level of people to exceed the expectations, to stand out. Every single day we present ourselves to a certain extent. We are selling ourselves with our thoughts, the way we dress, the way we speak, the way we talk. All these things are social bounds. And we ourselves are in charge of them. And mental health goes hand in hand with all those things. And when we fail to address the important aspects, those toxic ones, they can really play a part. That's when people can become in debt, or they can buy the flashy things to look a certain way, appearance, and go online and do this. But in reality, it's just, filling a hole. Mm. They ask that question of like, would you rather, be rich and depressed in a Ferrari, or would you be rich and depressed in a minivan?
Yeah.
I think we should reshape that question, right? It's like, if you could have what genuinely makes you happy, why isn't that good enough? People think that's just being complacent. Mm-hmm. But I think that's being realistic with what is this life about? All the fame, all the clothes, the cars, the houses, they're temporary. But the legacies we leave behind in history, making a genuine impact, that's what we should be focusing on. I feel like mental health is directly aligned with that. What's your purpose? Why? Why do you do what you do every single day? Why do I get up? Why do I train? If your purpose and your why is strong enough, you're golden. You can achieve anything you put your mind to.
So athletes, should find that strong, deep purpose.
The grit.
The grit
Yes.
that will take you to the next level. Be it a system, be it building a competitive team. And speaking of systems, what does a fully developed psychological sports system look like for organized sports?
Something like sports psychology is so new, even within Canada. Mental counselors or mental specialists, in some cases, that's the role that they're assigned. Because sports psychologist is like, what does that mean? Like if I ask you what a psychologist, what could you say? You say that's someone that you go to when you need to work through, let's say, your depression, or if you're going through a lot of thoughts and you want to cope and you want to understand how to properly cope with healthy coping mechanisms. When I say sports, it throws people off. Like, what does that mean? They're just a normal psychologist. What's different with sports? Right? And that idea, that concept of sports being integrated to psychology has been so new, especially in the last 10 to 20 years. When we think of concepts like flow state or grit, or using even imagery, it's huge with what we can accomplish. It's just a matter of tapping into those, and it's just such a brand new concept that hasn't been utilized enough because people don't understand it. Are you gonna invest into something that you don't understand? Would you need enough results to prove that it works? But like I said, it's one of those things where, like education, you don't know if it'll pay off. You can get a PhD, MD, you can do everything in the world, but that's not gonna, guarantee that you'll be successful in life. Same thing with, all these big corporations, these big sponsors, the people that bring in the money. They're thinking about, like we mentioned, those milliseconds. If they feel like it's worth it, like to go from first place or even fifth place to first place, why would you not invest? But then when we look into a lower, state, athletes in high school, athletes in elementary, how do you invest in those kids? That's the importance, because that's the foundation, that's the groundwork. When you're adults, you already have preconceived notions of what you believe should be happening. But start off early. Kids are sponges. And that's what we're not investing enough into. And when we want, let's say, certain results, we have to be able to be willing to put in the time, the money, the resources, and support to make that happen. And right now, and just today, internationally, it's just not enough. Jobs aren't there. People just not understanding the true power and the strength of the mind. But it's a steady progress upwards, right? And that's why we're here trying to have these important conversations.
Yep. On to the quickfire segment. One word to describe the mindset of a champion.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
Pressure, fuel or fear?
Say that one more time.
There is pressure.
It's pressure. Yeah.
You fuel it or fear it?
I would say it depends circumstantially. Certain place, if you have too much pressure, it's a tipping point.
Yeah.
So I think it's your ability to utilize it.
Utilize that pressure.
Yeah, utilize it in a healthy way or a negative way. Because if you have too much pressure, your performance can drop drastically. There's there's a certain concept, there's a theory in sports psychology, and you got to hit that middle, just on that verge. If it can be just, balanced perfectly, you can perform with that, that flow state. Everything happens naturally. It's muscle memory. You just know what you're doing. But if you have too much fear, the pressures of my family's looking, my whole career's online, you're plummet. Even though you practice that jump shot 500 times, the pressure gets to you. That concept of you choke, it's massive. So, pressure is good in some cases. Stress, we need it. Stress, as humans, we need it to go forward. But too much stress, bad.
Bad. Mental strength or physical strength?
Mental strength all the way.
All the way.
All the way. Yeah.
We usually have some segment of, the transformational or development questions.
Yeah.
And it's usually asked by some of our viewers.
Okay.
So the last 3 questions that were raised is on this topic is, what is one mindset shift that could immediately change an athlete's career trajectory?
I touched on this a little earlier, but I would say purpose. Understand your why, because if it's not strong enough, it will fizzle out, and it won't take you the distance. Understand why. What are you doing, and why are you doing it, and what's the end goal? Because if a man with a plan can go the distance, a man without a plan, he wanders aimlessly.
Yeah. If you could redesign athlete development in Africa from scratch, what would you prioritize first?
I think we already know the answer, but I would definitely running is Kenya's most, for sure, by a landslide, the most successful sport that Kenya dominates in. And what is running? It's, yes, to a certain extent, it's, your ability to train, but after a certain level, you can only do so much. When I was in Asirikwa, I saw athletes literally pushing themselves so much where they would collapse. Some people can argue that's unhealthy, but I can argue that's just you pushing your limitations. When have you ever ran so much that you cross the finish line? And that's the important part. You cross the finish line and then you collapse. You're just simply, burning, fuel that your mind is producing is just, you said you would do this and it's going through that. If kids can understand the raw amount of power that they possess with their minds, they can accomplish anything. And that can be transferable to all portions of life, not just sport. It's setting them up for success when they're done with their sport and they want to continue into other parts of life. So I would say that would be the most important aspect that could determine so much more success within athletes is their mind and the ability to just progress and achieve.
Yeah. The third one and the last one, this one I know you already mentioned it, but probably you might bring it up in a different perspective. What does it mean for an athlete to be truly whole beyond performance?
This one I would say is someone that's in touch with all portions of themselves. So physical literacy at Mount Royal University there's domains. As humans, we have domains of, the physical, the mental, the social, the emotional. When you can conquer all those, you're a complete human. And that's what we should be first, right? A complete human. Because when you can achieve that, being an athlete is easy. Right? Because you've already went through the trials and tribulations of life. You've learned how to cope. You've learned the strategies to get back on your feet. And when you can go through life in a way that is positive and optimistic, and you're able to show gratitude even when you're absolutely destroyed and it's detrimental to your health, you look at the bright side. Because it's the duality of life. Without pain and suffering, there can't be happiness. Without light, there can't be darkness. Without good, there can't be bad. Without winners, there can't be losers. When you understand that, and the principle and the concept of this is life, If something bad doesn't happen to me, who do you wish it upon? Someone else? No. It's your ability to cope. When you can ask for, anything and get nothing and still be content and satisfied, that's when I feel like you are whole. That's when I feel like you're accomplished what you need in this life of being a human, right? Look at someone and not judge them based off what you see, but be empathetic towards their situation. And so I'm a Gursikh, right? And one thing in my faith is about love. It's about treating everyone the same. We have the world's largest free kitchen for anybody. And we have 4 different sides in India where anybody can come, no matter what background, gender, race, nothing matters. It's just a matter of coming together, equality. And the word is ekta, which basically roughly translates to unity. When you can unite together with anybody in this world, you're unstoppable. Right? There was one of my friends had just shared this with me recently. She said her babu had said that you have one matchstick, it's easy to break.
Yeah.
When you have 20, it becomes harder, right? And that's the thing. With numbers, with people, if you become a family, a community, the way we translate sangat, of people that believe in a common theme of idea, a principle, a concept, the possibilities are endless. Positivity, we can worldwide spread it.
Yeah.
Right? If we want to preach this concept of mental strength, we got to be able to live it. Actions speak louder than words. But some things like words, they hold just as much power. Right? There's another thing I really love is like you have a stone and you throw it into the ocean. You don't know how far it goes. You don't know how far the ripples travel. Just you being vulnerable with someone for even a split second and showing them some empathy could change the trajectory of life and you could never even know it. The butterfly effect. But you became vulnerable. You put yourself in a vulnerable position. And that vulnerability can show your humanity. We're not robots. We're not AI. That's what differentiates us.
Yeah.
Embrace that. Come together, love each other, show each other support. And I think the possibilities are genuinely limitless. So yeah, that's what I would say.
And as we close, you might tell me if this is true or not. A strong mind is also built by a group of people.
Huge. Yeah,
Right.
100%. Yeah. Whoever you surround yourself with, they say it's the concept of, let's say, you're a cactus. You're not gonna grow in where there's snow. You gotta change your environment to support your needs. If you're not thriving, sometimes it's not where you are, but who you're around. Change your environment. Change what you consume. If you're always reading negative news, Donald Trump did this, or, this person killed this person, or this thing. It's very negative things that you're consuming. Think about the positives. There's a lot of good things happening in this world. It's not all negative, but the way that media portrays it and news portrays it is all negative. It's what we consume naturally and the way we've been conditioned. And you gotta break those patterns. So it's a matter of just realizing where you are and understanding where you want to be and making that bridge. Connect it. Take the step. It just takes one step after the other. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. That's what life is.
Yep.
Yeah. The end goal isn't so much as important as the journey. So enjoy every single moment you have, every single day you have. Practice gratitude. Stop to smell the flowers. I realized I caught myself just a couple of weeks ago when I hurt my leg. I was so devastated. My week was absolutely terrible for training. And I stopped. I was like, dude, I'm in Kenya. I'm in Kenya. I live in people's dreams. And I'm over here complaining and crying and whining about, oh, I didn't have a good training session. I was sitting poolside. And I just had an amazing home-cooked meal, and I'm complaining. I had to rewire myself, my thought process. I'm in Kenya. I need to be grateful. I need to practice the way that I think needs to be in a positive light. If you always think everything's bad and this happened, oh man, it sucks. That's what you're gonna live. Break that cycle one step at a time. But if you're around people that are continuously only focusing on the bad, you're gonna adopt that as your own ideologies and your mindset without even knowing it. Right? So plant yourself in a garden that allows you to really blossom. Yeah.
Talvir,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to appreciate you so much in a huge way, for being that champion of mental health, specifically in sports, specifically for men.
Yes.
And all you do out there, it's an inspiration. Just as you said, if you throw that pebble into the ocean, you never know how far, these ripples go and the impact it has.
Yeah.
We've been looking at you closely, what you're doing out there, what you put up on your social media, and just to let you know, some of those things are impacting us, in ways that you never thought or imagined, and not just us, because there are other people as well who are viewing, and maybe that you'll never even get a chance to get feedback from them.
Right.
But continue doing you. We appreciate your what you do and advocating for having a strong mind in sports.
Yeah.
And how to, most importantly, balance it out.
Yeah.
It was a great honor hosting you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It was an amazing time. I think that I was even in Mathari a couple days ago, and I had the same opportunity to talk to young kids, and I really just appreciated just being in that space. So I'm very grateful for every single opportunity. So I appreciate you taking the time to address such an important topic that's so close to my heart.
Thank you. We are looking forward to more together. Wishing you the best where you're going up there. Until next time, viewers, it's your host signing out, Jermaine. Salute.
Tutaonana.
Tutaonana.